Hi guys, Super Secret Tech here, and I wanted to go over just kind of a quick build update for you about kind of where I'm sitting as far as the end of a little over 24 hours from league start. I did sleep. I'm not one of those people that stay up the whole time. I try to keep to my schedule as best I can. I am still missing Vaal Righteous Fire, which is why I'm running these sack maps. As far as the gear, it's not great. I have done a couple of tweaks because of how tanky Delirious is, like as far as the damage. And so you'll notice that I have glancing blows. I have this black wheel, I have this block wheel, and I have this node, and I'm running Tempest Shield, which is with glancing blows with a recovery shield, which will give me capped block. I am a couple of points away on the fire damage here, and I also went Ellie Overload. This is temporary, and it was basically the way that I could squeeze in glancing blows for now. Because I previously did have these crit nodes and I had higher DPS, but the need for survivability has kicked in. So for right now, we're going to use these two. I probably should also drop these four since I'm here, but that's a lot of respecking. So basically from here, what we're going to do is grab these two fire nodes, because that's a big fire damage node, and that gives us access to this guy as well. Then the next thing we want to do after recap this is go back and start working on these crit nodes and get out of elemental overload. Now my links are a little different because I am in elemental overload currently. So right now we're running Spell Echo, Conk, Combustion, LE Focus, Fire Pin, Blade Blast. So no crit scaling whatsoever. Crit damage is technically more than a couple of these gems if you're in crit, but with being LA overload, that negates crit damage. As far as the Bladefall setup, I have Bladefall, Space Cascade, Unleash, and Combustion. And the reason why I'm going that is because I went ahead and went to Disciple the Forbidden to go ahead and just give me the power charges, so I could run this specific setup. Now, the other thing you can do here is you can take out Combustion if you are not in LA overload mode, and run increased critical strikes. Basically, it's just giving you more ignite chance, which is really good for clear speed. As far as defenses, they're pretty well set. I do have the +1 with crit and multi. It is not the best crit roll. It is not the best multi roll, but it does work, and we do have the +1 weapon. As far as the 6 link, it's not great, but it is there. And getting to a 6 link is very important. The rest of the stuff is pretty mediocre. You will notice like this has a lot of decks on it. And I have some decks in rings, as well as I also have this dex node temporarily until I get a second dex ring or a better dex ring than the one I have currently. The reason why we're going over here again is just to capitalize on glancing blows, because we want it to be at up here. You can notice I'm overcapped on all my reses, and I have 68 to chaos res. Not quite capped, but definitely in a better place than most builds are. These last couple of points, you can fix right here and right here. Oh no, those don't provide chaos. It's just these. They changed this. These all used to provide chaos, and now they don't. So this new wheel got worse because that changed. But essentially, because we have Facilio now, we barely need any fire res at all on gear to be over cap. Now you'll notice all my reses are kind of just barely over cap. That is strictly a budget issue. not a it's impossible to get there issue. It's still early, and this build is going to have leagues to grow. The other thing is, as our damage scales up higher and higher and higher, and as we're able to allocate more nodes, because I think I'm at like level 80 right now. Yeah, level 80. And as I'm at level 80, basically the thing that's important to remember is that this is more of a slower build. Like, we're not going to hit those super high, super fast numbers, but it is a build that scales very, very well with investment. So the more you put into it, the more that you're getting out. Now, with not having Vaal Righteous Fire, it is significantly lowering my boss damage, because Vaal Righteous Fire is a huge part of that. However, we do have Vaal Haste for that to help. And I'm also running Decoy Totem temporarily as just a defensive layer as well, because I actually just went into max block today. That was a decision I decided to go with today through playtesting and through doing the Krangler. But let's go ahead and do a little bit of playstyle with it. The other thing that's important to know, if your damage seems really, really low, the other thing that you can always do is go LE overload if your crit isn't there. I would say if your crit is between like 20 and 40, LE overload is probably a DPS increase. Now, once you're over 60 crit chance, then you are definitely in better territory as far as running actual crit gems instead of LE overload. Like I said, I actually pulled out of crit nodes. Another thing is when you're casting Blade Blast, you want to kind of mouse target the middle of where your blades land, not necessarily what you're trying to hit. And we'll grab that stack 4, because why not? It's stack 4. But yeah, so this is kind of where we're at. The nice thing about this now, because like if you have a fragment tab, you can just pull these guys out and just stockpile them in. Those aren't good. To the map device and just keep chain running. Like, I think I had 9 of these to start with, trying to get Vaal Righteous Fire. The other thing you can also do is Vaal Orb Righteous Fires. And that's another side effect of this process, is we're getting a whole bunch of Vaal gems that we don't need, which can get us Vaal Orbs. And we're also selling off a bunch of rares that we don't need. Another thing to kind of note with this particular league, because the way the Krangler thing works, this guy, you can put corrupted items from Vaal zones in here. The other thing is don't be afraid to buy, if you don't have a 6 link yet, don't be afraid to buy a like corrupted 5 link that has 6 sockets and then hit it with a Vaal fusing. Because it's like essentially a 50-50 shot of either getting a 6 link or a 4 link. And you can probably pay for the Vaal fusing and pay for the 5 and the 6 link for less than it costs to buy a 6 link. You do probably want to get it colored correctly though, if you're going to go that strategy, and like hopefully it has some beneficial mods to you. Fantastic. Love seeing the stacks of Orbs of Transmutation. I'm backtracking, I think. Yeah, I need to go back over here. But yeah, as far as the MTXs that are on here, I was using Illusionist, but I found Illusionist wasn't standing out enough on the Bladefall for me. I like the overall effect of it, but it wasn't quite as this is, where with demonic Bladefall, like where the blades are is very, very clear. And then you can hit it and you can see the explosion all around. So if you want to get those cosmetics, it is Void Emperor Blade Blast and it is Demonic Bladefall. They are not necessary. It is a personal preference thing specifically. But I did figure I would mention it, especially since I changed the one that I was using, because I was originally using Illusionist for League Start, but it's kind of hard to keep track of the blades in the ground. They don't stand up as nicely as these demonic ones do. But yeah, so at this point where I'm at, and y'all may be experiencing similar situations, is that the clear is nice and solid, and the boss damage is okay, but it still is not like the crazy high numbers yet. If you're there, the things that are going to really put you over the top is upgrading your weapon, running Vaal RF, and getting you a 6 link. All those things significantly increase your damage. The other thing to remember is that any spell scales really well with levels. So if the spell gem level is low, you can also get a higher level one, and that will give you more DPS. So if you're at a gem level 17 or 18, not a gem level 20, it does make a very big difference. Even with the +1, because then you're going from like 17 to 18 or 18 to 19 instead of 20 to 21, which is a very large scale effect. Another kind of general pointer that you can do that may help out is if you are experiencing survivability issues, feel free to drop that second weapon and go to a shield like I am. Now I will forewarn you, it is a very significant DPS loss, especially if you have +1 weapon, because you're losing another gem level. So it is a massive DPS loss. However, if you want to do the Krangler often, it just might be a necessary sacrifice. The other thing I will say is I have seen evasion builds do pretty well with the mechanics. So it may even be worth running like armor and evasion hybrid gear or heavy evasion gear, because we do have to run a whole bunch of decks anyway. Right, so don't be afraid if you have to run evasion pieces for now. The other thing is you can also scale armor, and that is also a trick to getting more out of this, is just to scale the armor up itself. And is it will increase your physical damage reduction here. So like I lost a pretty significant amount of that recently, because I've even played around with like running determination to see if that would help. It does. It's significant. When I was running determination, I was running that with just skitter bots. That's another thing as far as boss damage is concerned. Shock is a massive boss damage multiplier. So is Herald of Purity. Herald of Ash does nothing for boss damage. So if you are having great clear and you're not having great boss damage, that can also be a reason for it, is you might be running Herald of Ash instead of Herald of Purity. where Ash is really just the clear speed. And it's not really that great until you're starting to run like higher investment maps where the density's huge. That's when Herald of Ash really takes off, because you want that big density, because the big density is what gives you the giant explosions. Now, we're not going to run these Mignites, but I will run the other fragments that I have. But essentially, if you're unfamiliar with the vendor recipe here of kind of what I'm farming up with all these Vaal gems, so you can trade 5 of these and a gavel, which you can get in Act 2 and 7, I believe. Normally we'll have gavels in them. Also stone hammers work as well. But essentially, oh, there it is. Boom. All right, so I didn't even notice I got it. But Vaal Righteous Fire, very important. So now that we have both of these, I'm going to go ahead and move Vaal Righteous Fire. That's normal RF. We do not want that. We want this one. I'm going to go ahead and set all of these to... I just want to double check because I have made a couple of moves around recently. Okay, great. They're all triggered correctly. So now what Vaal Righteous Fire does is it's a 10% more damage over damage multiplier to spell damage. But it does sacrifice 60% of your total ES in life to do that. So you're going to dip down on your health and your ES massively. But like in this instance, I have Recover of Life. As soon as you hit it, you're going to want to hit your flasks to get you back up and in the game. And then hopefully you can block to keep you alive. But it is a very significant boss damage increase. So that's something to keep an eye out for as well. If that is not what you're looking for, right? If you don't want to use that Vaal RF mechanic, I would strongly recommend go ahead and staying dual wielding, because that's the only way that you're going to have really good results. And make sure you at least get to a +1 weapon in each hand. That'll help you boost those levels, which will give you considerably more damage. But that's just kind of my end of like first 24-ish hours. It's been a little longer than that since League launched, but I've also slept quite a bit. I was apparently exhausted this morning, and insomnia kicked in last night. But anyway, I hope this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and comment below. I'd also really appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe. It really helps me grow. But anyways, stay sane out there, and let me know if I can help in any way. All right, you guys have a good one. Peace.